You know, we've all heard the advice that after a big argument, it's never a good idea to go to bed angry. Here to explain why that might not always be the case, we welcome back marriage and family therapist Kelly Hoffman. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Helen.
Why tackle this topic? Because I think sometimes we've gone to bed angry, and that's just the best way to deal with it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I know that I heard that advice, and my husband heard that advice. In the first year of our marriage, we tried to make sure we never went to bed angry. What we ended up doing was going to bed very tired, late sometimes, and having a lot
Clearly our photographer, Mark, can relate to this.
and you're not at your best. You're not at your best. And I actually had the privilege of conducting some research amongst older Americans when I was in graduate school, and I found that was the generation that saying came about in, and they were the ones that grew up in the Depression and went through World War I and World War II, and they had their priorities so straight that they were just willing to not have their ego get in the way. They were just a different kind of people, and I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm just not, I'm not there. So this is advice for, you know, you're trying to resolve it. You're trying to get to the bottom, and we're not saying go to bed and forget about it, but don't keep going when you're too tired.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
Because sometimes you can't forgive or forget right in the moment. You've just got to stop the conversation because it's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And if two people are trying to be heard, but you're not saying the words that help the other person see your side of the story, you need to regroup. Now, if it's early enough in the day, you can go for a walk, you can write something down that helps you out. But if you're at night, you're tired, it's okay to say, you know what, here's the time I'm free this week, we'll go for a walk, I'll get a babysitter for the kids. I actually highly recommend anytime you're trying to work out something difficult to walk. There's a lot of research that shows that your brain works better and you're able to process information better. So just anytime you can go for a walk. But if you're in bed, bed is for love and pillow talk and sleep.
Right.
It is not for any bad juju.
So let's say you can't forgive and forget. That's when you either sleep in another room or you just go to bed.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
And that doesn't mean that you just forget it and walk away from it, because it's going to come back even if you don't set an appointment.
Right.
But you want to tackle your problems on your own time frame and your own agenda. You don't want your problems biting you in the butt in the middle of what's supposed to be a fun family outing or a date night.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you put that on the calendar, that we're going to talk about this, and you want to prep for it. Just like you prep for an important business meeting, you might want to take notes about the things that are hard for you or that you want to understand. And there's things to know if you're in a conversation, whether it's at night or any other time of the day, and you're not willing to say, you know, I might be wrong in part of this or all of this. If you don't have that in your heart, go to bed, go away.
That's when you should. So when should you stay in the conversation?
Good question. So you should stay in the conversation when you can articulate what your thoughts are. You're not so angry that you're just saying the same thing over and over again, that you can identify your emotions. You're not just expressing your emotions. You can say, I'm feeling angry, or I'm angry right now. You can even yell a little bit, I'm feeling so angry, if you can have that playfulness with it. But if it's only the expression of emotion, not that emotion can't be expressed, but if you can't rein it back in to be able to talk, then you can't be in it. But if you can talk about it, you're good to go. If you can say, I can see the other person's point of view, you're good to go. If you can say, you know, I feel like he's understanding or she's understanding my point of view, I'm going to accept and acknowledge that even though I don't agree with what they're saying. If you're in that place, then you're good to go to keep that conversation going.
You touched on it, but can you raise your voice during these discussions?
I find it's kind of fun. You can do it playfully. Sometimes I've raised my voice, and sometimes my husband raised my voice, and then we just smile about it, because it's an event. It is an event. It shouldn't be an event. It should be an event. Like, this is such a frustrating conversation, not a long 5-minute yelling, screaming match.
Right. Okay. And then when do you absolutely leave the conversation?
When you are hurting each other. And if there is any hurting going on, just walk away. And you can preface it with, I love you. I want to have this conversation. I don't want the hurting. You should definitely leave the conversation if you're feeling overwhelmed by the other person and not listened to. You should definitely leave the conversation if you can recognize, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelming the other person. They're shutting down. They haven't spoken once in the past 5 minutes.
Right.
I'm leaving the conversation. Go say, I'm not leaving to end this. I'll go write down what I'm feeling and thinking. I love you. We can exchange notes. We can talk about this. If this is a huge thing, get a coach, get a therapist for one session. It's not a big deal. Just like you need a coach or a referee in a game, or a coach or a referee, a judge in like a decision-making process, you sometimes need someone to help you navigate. It's not an admission of defeat or something wrong with your relationship, but you need to not be doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
And so ultimately, how do you help things go differently so that you're not getting into the argument and it doesn't go on and on?
All right, so to help things go differently, you want to be really good about accepting the other person's bids for just calming it down.
Okay.
Like if somebody makes it, they shouldn't be making a joke and making it, but if they're making a bid to just like, okay, let's de-escalate a little bit, just accept it, and then say, okay, now let's talk about this. You've got to, in order to make it go well, you've got to be able to calm yourself down, because you're going to get heated and excited, but you have to be able to bring yourself back to a place where you can talk. You can say, I'm feeling this way, you're feeling this way, and above all, you got to, humility, I say it all the time, but you've got to be humble. That doesn't mean you have to be a doormat, but you do have to be willing to say, am I wrong? And then you explore it, because you might often come up with the answer, you know what, I don't feel like I'm wrong, and I don't feel like this is that way, but I can see what you're thinking, and I think maybe what's happening is this. And that's your way to a dialogue where both people feel heard, listened to, understood, loved, nurtured. That's what we want in a marriage or any relationship.
Absolutely. Kelly, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll put information on our website at KATU.com.